Hey there, folks. Welcome back to Civ Fanatics Ultimate Strategy Guide. And I think what I'm going to do here is I recently made a roughly 40-minute video on growing tall with using Pachacuti as an example. And I think it's roughly a 40-minute video. It's too long. And to be quite honest, I'm not really all that great at playing a game and talking at the same time. So I have a lot of respect for the YouTubers that can do that well, but I don't do it enough to be really good at it. So what I'm going to do instead is replace that video with a shorter 10 to maybe 15-minute video where I'm not really focused on playing, at the same time, uh, and just covering the points that I think are valid. The reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place is because there's this misconception out there. I've heard two different deity level players, YouTubers, make a comment that you cannot compete with the AI in science early game. And that's just wrong. You can't. By turn 100, all you have to do is get your science score up to roughly 75 per turn. And you may not be at the top of, the leaderboard, but as far as I can tell, even in the games where these players said that, the deity level AIs were roughly 75 per turn. And that's an achievable goal for any player. So before we get into how you can achieve that, uh, the question is, why would you want to? Why would you want to play your cities tall? Well, the first reason is your loyalty is heavily based in population. The higher the population of a city is, the more loyalty that city will have. Um, the benefit to that is if you go into a dark age and you have a city with, let's say, 10 to 15 population. If you go into a dark age, there's going to be less of a chance, even if you have AIs or other players relatively close. If the population of your city is higher than the population of their city, even when they go into a golden age versus your dark age, there's going to be less loyalty issues. Now, if their population is higher than yours, and you go into a dark age versus their golden age, then you're going to risk uh, that city flipping. So you'll have to take additional measures to try to prevent that. So growing your populations higher than those of your opponents is valuable. Um, Alternatively, if your population is higher and you go into a golden age versus the opponent player's dark age, it's their cities that are at risk of flipping and not yours. So that's another reason. Also, uh, your population, depending on what's surrounding the city, can and often does result in higher production. Right now, my production in my capital is 11.5 with three population about to be four. When it goes to four population, depending on what citizens I have work where, that production will go up even higher. But if you look, eventually this will be a mine, this will be a mine. I'm getting four production here. I may later in the game turn this into a mine because if you notice, I have pinned here my industrial hub. I've changed my mind on that. That's not going to be my industrial hub. My industrial hub is actually going to be here. I didn't put enough thought into this layout. My government plaza isn't going to be there. My government plaza is going to be eventually here. And this commercial hub isn't going to be there. It's going to be here. And the reason why I, elected to make these changes is because the industrial hub will get, it gets the bonuses based on mine. So, I was beholden to having these as terrace farms, but as far as I'm aware, terrace farms don't give bonuses to industrial hubs. So I've decided, I'll make these mines. I'll convert that one to a mine. The government plaza will give, an extra bonus to the industrial hub. So, this will become a really good industrial hub. And also, later in the game, when when I get coal, coal power plants, it'll power this city. I'm going to have a city up here, it'll power that one. I have a city here, it'll power that one. So I'll be powering 4 cities with this one industrial hub. And, if you're not already aware, when you power your cities, your research labs, later in the game when you get research labs, it adds additional science to research labs and so on and so forth. So, it's just, this is a much better location for an industrial hub. But like if I get this city up to a 15 population, say by turn 150, then I'm going to have production here, production here, production here, production here, production here, production here. This city, plus playing as Pachacuti, I'll get production from mountain tiles. So this is going to be a really, really high production city. The other reason that you want to go tall is because science is partially population based. You get 0.5 science for every population. So if, let's say I do 6 cities and my overall population is, let's say 40 to 50, I'm going to get 20 to 25 science per turn just based on the science, or just based on the population. So, that's another reason, that you want to get your population up. So, the next question becomes, well, how do you go tall? Well, bottom line is you just focus on going tall. There's 2 different ways you can do that. You can manually assign your populations, your citizens to work food tiles, put a higher priority on working food tiles over production tiles early. And the value to choosing food over, see, I think that food and production are equally important. So, if you notice, I have, both of them checked. I have both food and production checked. But in the early game, I do often manually assign, my citizens to work tiles. But to answer that question, it's just, how do you go tall? Well, you focus your energy, or you focus on going tall as fast as you can, just by assigning citizens. Also, the next thing you want to do is you put a higher priority on building builders, on recruiting builders to, improve the tiles surrounding your cities. And you put just as much focus on building farms as you do improving, either mines or, in this case, terrace farms, which, give a combination, terrace farms give a combination of food and uh, production, you know, production tiles. So the next thing is that you put a higher focus on commercial hubs. If you notice, I'm working currency early in the game. I kind of pretty much rushed towards currency. In hindsight, I'm not sure if I would have done this or not, but in hindsight, because I don't necessarily want to lay any commercial hubs down, because this city has so many or so few uh, tiles that I can place districts and whatnot. Uh, and the same can be said putting another city up here. And this too is it's just going to be, it has a very few choices in places where I can put districts down. So it may have been smarter to go for celestial navigation before currency. I'm not exactly sure on that though. It's still possible because the rest of my cities, I'm going to put a city somewhere in here. I'm going to put a city somewhere over here. Maybe an additional city down here. I'm not sure yet. Just to, depending on where I put this city, I may put another additional city somewhere in here. A city over here somewhere. And I don't know if I'll put a city up this far up or not. This would be a city up here would be pretty tough to grow. But, all of these cities could have commercial hubs. And if you don't already do this, I highly, highly recommend giving a higher priority to commercial hubs. And the reason for doing that is because of domestic trade routes. It may not seem like an amazing thing to have domestic trade routes because you don't get a huge amount of food and or production through a domestic trade route. But when your cities are in their early development, having one or two extra food and one or two extra production can be huge when you're first when you're in the earlier stages of development. Additionally, as the game progresses, that one or two food can become three or four food, and that one or two production can become two or three or even four production, depending on how quickly you get industrial hubs out and stuff like that. And I play domestic trade routes all the way up until roughly turn 150. I try to get my capitals up to roughly 15 pop, and my second, third, and fourth cities to over 10 before I start switching off to international trade routes. And just the benefit to that is just it is so worth it. I can't even begin to describe how worth it having domestic trade routes is. Plus, even though most people when they play play trade route or play commercial hubs, they skip the domestic trade routes and they go right to international trade routes. Well, if you're putting a higher priority on building commercial hubs and or harbors, for trade routes, like this commercial hub is going to get at least a two gold per turn. If I put a harbor right here, I think it's either going to be a +4 or maybe a +5 harbor. If I put a harbor here, it'll be +2 or +3. So that's 8 gold per turn. 10 gold for this one. There's no rivers for this one, so if I put another commercial hub right here, that's 12, you know, plus, you could put the policy card in, that gives you 2 gold per trade route. So you're getting 20 gold per turn, which is, that's still not too shabby. So you can still fund just by having these trademarks. Plus the markets give you some gold per turn. So, you're going to be able to fund a pretty decent military if you need one. And lastly, I'll note that in this game here, I have two cities already. I got a settler that's going to go up here and found a third city. Plus, I'm producing a settler here for a fourth city. In most games, I wouldn't necessarily go for the fourth city yet. What I might do, or what I would probably do, is build, at least a couple of military units at this point in the game, because, in most situations I would have a neighbor, and I would be, because I'm playing on deity level, I would have the potential to be attacked. So, after I build my third or second settler, I usually opt to build, 2 or 3 military units in my capital, and then after this campus, I would probably build 2 or maybe 3 military units here for a total of 6 military units, and I would send them to my most vulnerable city to, help protect that. So, just note that, you can't just focus solely, based on your situation. You have to keep your situation in mind. So, and I would probably, as soon as I had enough funds to buy a builder, I would probably buy another builder. I'll use this builder to increase the production by building a terrace farm or whatever. Where's this city? Oh, no, not this one. Okay, so he's growing out to here next. So, oops. I don't know what happened there. I didn't necessarily mean to do that, but oh well. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to break here. I'll come back at turn 100. I'm at turn 42, and my science is at 7.2, which may not seem that impressive, but by the time I come back at turn 100, just to show you, the potential of this strategy, I'll come back at turn 100. My science should be not 7.2, but it should be somewhere in the ballpark of 75 per turn, which, like I said, that should be enough to compete with the AIs. So with that being said, I'll cut out here, come back, when I come back, I'll be at roughly turn 100, and we'll see if my prediction is anywhere near true. See you in a few. All right, and we are back. If you'll notice, if you look up here, it is turn 103. I did miss my goal of 75 production by turn 100 by 3 turns. And I'm still, 74.3. I'm still not quite there, but next turn, grow a population here. In 2 turns, I'll grow another population here. That should bring me over the 75 mark. So, yeah, all in all, I would consider this, pretty much a success. Now, if you notice, I'm still, third from the bottom here in text researched. I have 19. I wish it wouldn't put that off screen. The only civ that we've met that is above us is 43 science per turn. I don't know who the leader is yet, but I can almost assure you that the science for this civilization, whomever it is, it could be Korea, because I did manually put them in this game. So I would say that this is probably Korea, and their science is most likely somewhere in the vicinity of 75 per turn. So, and that was my goal. I wanted to have a comparable science by turn 100 to whomever the leader is. Okay, we're back. And it's now turn 125. I finally met all of the civs that are in the game. Science is at 101 per turn. And if you look, his science is at 116 per turn. So I think within the next 10 turns, I'm going to be able to, at least tie that up. 10, 13 turns maybe, because I'm getting my universities in. And I'll get an extra 4 science per university, so that's 4, 8, 12, 16. So that'll bring me up to be in comparison to the Greek Empire. Surprisingly, Korea is not doing all that well. So, but that was the point of the video, just to kind of demonstrate that yes, you can in fact compete with the the AIs on deity level relatively early in the game. Now, I consider the first 100 to 125 turns to be early in the game, because you're pretty much, I limited myself to only building 6 cities, because I wanted to demonstrate that I could do this with 6 cities. You should almost always be able to squeeze 6 cities in. It's getting more than that, and I could do more than that. I could put a city here. As a matter of fact, I would argue that a city should be somewhere on this little island, just to collect these turtles, this jade, and, it wouldn't be a horrible city here. I still think there should be a city up in here somewhere, maybe over here, just to, get some additional stuff there. I think a city should probably be somewhere down here. Now look, I'm probably, because I'm not, I didn't settle these, but I wasn't taking this game seriously. The entire purpose of this specific, game was just to demonstrate that the players can in fact, just to demonstrate what the value of going tall is, and that you can compete with, let's see how many cities Pericles has. So we make a deal. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's got 7 cities total. Who else? Korea, let's see how many she has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sweden has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And France has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, to be honest with you, I'm really surprised that the AIs haven't gone on to settle more cities than that. Looks like Sweden's probably going to come over and settle this for me. But like I said, not that I care. I'm not even planning on finishing this game. But with that being said, I'm going to leave it at that. And I do thank you for watching.